It's your girl, Jasmine. I am popping on here right quick to clear something up because I think some folks heard No Kings protest and thought it was only about Trump, MAGA, and ICE. No, it was about the Democrats too. Yeah, the Democrats. The ones who put on their concerned Democrat costume every election cycle, talk real spicy on social media, and then get in office and start voting like they're part of the same group chat as the people we were outside protesting against. I call them cosplaying Democrats, and there are enough of them that it's a real problem. Because let's stop playing. People didn't take to the streets just because the red hat cult is loud. We already know what they're giving: consistency. Loud, wrong, but consistent. What people are tired of is betrayal with better branding. You don't get to stand at a podium talking about protecting democracy, protecting immigrants, protecting marginalized communities, and then turn around and vote for the very policies that harm them. That's not compromise. That's collaboration. We know the difference. And the protests, they weren't just resistance, they were a warning. A warning that people are paying attention now. A warning that the say one thing, do another era is over. And a warning that being quieter than their Republican counterparts doesn't make them better if their votes are lining up the same way. So no, don't exhale because the streets got quiet. That wasn't closure. That was a checkpoint. Because the same people who showed up with signs, chants, and frustration, they're showing up again. And this time, they're bringing receipts to the ballot box.
Point in the book, the MAGA Republicans and their supporters who want to make America great again want to be remaking it in the image of the antebellum era. I just want to be clear. Are you saying you think they want to reinstate slavery?
No. They wish to get us back as close to slavery as they can possibly get us to without violating, because the Constitution, they can't do it. Jim Crow? Yes.
So you think they would reinstitute Jim Crow?
Absolutely. And I think the Supreme Court is well on the way to doing that. Remember, all of this started with a Supreme Court decision called Dred Scott. That's what defined and laid the foundation for all of this stuff. And then we got another case called Pleasant versus Ferguson that's established separate and equal.
Well, and of course, the Supreme Court during Reconstruction overturned the Civil Rights Act.
Yes.
The
Supreme Court did. The Civil Rights Act was overturned by the United States Supreme Court. And what has just happened with the 1965 Voting Rights Act? They're doing it a little more sophisticated, but they're doing that. This Supreme Court is overturning the Voting Rights Act.
To be really clear, your view is the MAGA Republicans are explicitly racist and want to turn the country back towards a time that approaches Jim Crow, if not achieving it.
I don't know that I would call all MAGA Republicans that. I'm very circumspect about using the term. They are racist. I don't put that label on any one person, but I know what the word means. It's sitting there in the dictionary for anybody to understand it. They are white supremacists, and there are people who are supporters of this president who admit to me that they are white supremacists. I've had people who support this president tell me that they thought that slavery was a good thing. And really, for us to deny that this exists, I don't know why we would do that.
You've had people tell you who support this president that they thought slavery was a good thing.
Absolutely. Right to my teeth.
He said right to his teeth. Good morning and welcome to Black Press USA's morning show, where we bring you the headlines and the culture. My guest co-host is Dr. Mike Davis, a former California Assembly member and LA Commissioner. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Neil. Good morning.
Good morning. And we just heard from Jasmine Canick talking about cosplaying Democrats. And then we heard from the very senior statesman, Congress member Jim Clyburn, who was saying that this administration is trying to take us back as close to slavery as they can, bringing up the Dred Scott and Jim Crow. And I think two things can be right at the same time, Mike.
Oh, absolutely, it can. And clearly, over and over again, we have heard the disappointment with the implementation of these policies that are an example of the attempt to turn back all of the gains that have been accomplished in the civil rights movement. And so this is precisely what is reflected in the remarks by the Honorable James Clyburn. We definitely have a lot of work to do in terms of preserving the democracy, Neil, as you say.
It's so fun. And, you know, to hear you say we have a lot of work to do and to think about what the civil rights leaders and activists would have said. I mean, if they had a lot of work to do and we've gotten this far, then what does that say about today's state of our union? Orange G says Jim Clyburn should have dropped all of the names. I agree. Because decorum is off because they have none. I will disagree with him to the point that he said he wouldn't say all. I would say if you are MAGA, you are a racist because that is based upon an ideology. Now, if you were to say you were a Republican, I would agree with him. But to me, if you say you're MAGA, you're a racist. You believe in white nationalism, you believe in white supremacy, and you believe in the ideology of the KKK. I would say that if you are a MAGA.
Absolutely. And again, as we have known for years, as has been told to us by those who in this country care about freedom, we have to continue to fight every day to protect our freedom. It's just not those who go to war and go across the waters to fight. We have to fight from within our society, as has been done by many great leaders during our period of time. We must be civically involved to protect the freedoms that we enjoy.
When you said we have to continue to fight, all I heard was Harpo in my ear all my life.
Yes.
I had to fight.
That's right.
I mean, and think about the setting of that movie. You know, and we could even think about what happened to her and the white woman. And, you know, I want you to be my maid. I ain't nobody maid. We are right back. Oh, that scared me. I was like, is something going on? But I mean, I'm serious. You know, we are right back there. The Honorable Jim Clyburn also brought up separate but equal. And I think a lot of us in hindsight and a lot of people black people back then wanted to be separate but equal. I think that's how you got a Black Wall Street, Black doctors, Black lawyers, Black banking. And they were okay with living in that environment. My grandmother, who's 94, who lived in Oklahoma at the time, she said she could remember, you know, her grandparents who raised her walking to the bank to deposit the money in the Black banks, walking to, you know, going to see the lawyer. So, I mean, the question is, you know, were they wrong about separate but equal? Or were we forced to because every time we got our independence, they come burn it down?
Well, people oftentimes complain about the whole cycle of what our ultimate goal is. We know that as James Clyburn, the Honorable Clyburn, started to talk, he first talked about the Dred Scott decision. And he walked us through the journey of the landmark cases that reflect our struggle for freedom. And so we started out with the Dred Scott decision, where they said that we are not even a complete man. We're only 3/5. You don't have the right to even file a complaint before the Supreme Court, nonetheless to talk about some kind of freedom. So that's where we started. And then, of course, the 1896 Plessy versus Ferguson, and you and I have spoken about it. I call it your homeboy, Plessy, who filed the lawsuit, who was a fair-skinned African-American who wanted to go in first class and had paid for it. But the Supreme Court ruled to our dismay that he did not have a right to have to be in first class. Just sit anywhere on the train. You ought to just be happy to be on the ride. But again, all of us look to, with pride, some 49 years later, approximately, the 1954 Brown versus the Board of Education case. And so I remember that very clearly. And I think even more importantly, when we look at the Brown case, what was it that caused the jurist to sit down and say that what we did some over 49 some years ago was wrong? You all are human and you do have a right to go to school with everyone else. And what did it was, really, people say it was the doll tests that Kenneth and Mamie Clark, who were psychologists, they were the first couple African Americans to get their doctorate from Columbia, but they had done a study, a black doll study in 1947 before the 54 case. And what happened in the doll study was that Black children were asked, which of these dolls do they prefer? And even though they were African American, the Black children chose the white doll. And why was that? Both Kenneth and Mamie said they chose it because they internalized what people in their environment thought about them. And so out of their desire to please others is what made them choose the doll of another culture. But it said something negative about what segregation has done to them in their psychic. And that case alone was what changed the minds of the jurists who made a decision in the Brown case. And so today, as we look at the kind of unraveling that is done to the civil rights gains, we also have to think about what it will do to the next generation of marginalized children when they look at society that rejects them. Will they equally internalize what people in the environment are saying about them and deny themselves? This is what turned around the white jurist in the Brown versus the Board of Education case.
Well, since we're on this,
if we don't fight, that will happen again.
Well, let's go into some more of the conversation and talk about this. The 14th Amendment and the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is set to hear arguments tomorrow on the executive order regarding the birthright citizenship. So the poll question this morning, chat, is your time to chime in, and if you're a part of the Klan, I see, or, white supremacy or MAGA, I see some of y'all in the chat, you can chime in too. The question of the day is, the 14th Amendment was originally enacted to protect citizenship of formerly enslaved Black Americans. So as the Supreme Court reviews current birthright citizenship policies, the question is, chat, how do you feel about the potential for changes to this constitutional right? Now, is it A, keep it as it is? It's a foundational protection that should not be touched. Is it B, it needs reform? The policy should only apply to those here legally. And C, unsure. I need to hear the Supreme Court's arguments first. So what are your options? Keep the 14th Amendment, the birthright citizenship as it is. It needs reform, or you're unsure. Let us know in the chat. And Mike, I'll hear from you first.
Well, keep it as it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so Michelle Madison has said, see, I would say keep it as it is. But tell us why, Dr. Davis, we should keep it as it is, in your opinion.
Well, I would ask you, why should we change it?
Because
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah. It is that if you are born on United States soil, physiologically, clearly, you are an American citizen. So therefore, in the past, as it should be now, that you are an American citizen and are entitled to all of the inalienable rights of being so. Yes.
Okay. Dr. Maryland says A, because I'm scared of what changes to come. I think that's a great point too. I mean, my thing is, if it ain't broke, why we need to fix it? Okay, it's been working. Has it been a problem? Why is it a problem now? And why are you making it a problem?
Right. Absolutely.
Orange G says, if the changes are equally enforced, I have no problem with changing birthright citizenship. Too many anchor babies from Russia and China, but MAGA only focuses on Black babies. What's your response? You see your face, Dr. Davis. What's your response to that?
Well, I think that obviously the supporter of the show is saying that we have an unequal application of the law. And who can argue against that? Who has been observant and been a part of marginalized communities? Certainly having driven around and having experienced and observed over the years, I know that to be true.
Okay, Lady Leo says, "A, keep it as it is." Okay, and see, this is why you don't use terms like that, because then somebody else chimes in, Big Cheese, and says anchor baby should be deported. I don't think we should be calling anybody an anchor baby. Right?
Right. Well, obviously, I mean, we want to respect people. If we
Right.
respect, we want to respect others as well.
We don't want to be called the N-word, so why are we using such terms? And
Right.
it's hard to do it. I mean, I just think that we shouldn't be using those terms. But that's what the people are saying in the chat. I didn't say it. But let us know, chime in if you're watching. The question, the poll of the morning is, how do you feel about the potential for changes of the 14th Amendment, which is the birthright, regarding birthright citizenship? Is it A, keep it as it is? B, it needs reform? C, unsure. But I will, Orange G says we are called worse. But I will say this. Things of yesterday are different from things of today. So I'm all about reform and modification, but I would like it to be done in the best interest of the American people and not MAGA. If MAGA is doing anything, it is a no for me. It is a no for me, even though I know a broke clock is right twice a day. Anything that MAGA does, we should be cautious, especially if you are not a white person. Okay. I just think that should be a rule of thumb. If MAGA is doing it and you are not white, you should be highly concerned about the why. So and speaking of that, the proposed SAVE Act, which Congress is going back and forth. I don't even know if they're going back and forth because I think they're on resource right now. But the proposed SAVE Act could jeopardize voting rights of Black elders who lack birth records. So older Black Americans without official birth certificates or passport could lose their right to vote. And how, as the American people, how do we feel about that? That is a form of voter suppression. And our elders, our Black elders, are the ones who went through the fight to get the right to vote. They are a part of that 1964 Civil Rights Act, 1965 Voting Rights Act. They went through that fight, through that discrimination, through that voter intimidation, through that voter suppression, to earn the right to vote. So they would be the ones that it would hurt and hit the hardest. And who is leading the charge of that? MAGA. Thoughts, Dr. Davis?
Well, we ought to have some system in which we can verify people who find themselves in that circumstance. We know that when we implement government programs, we know that implementing solutions to problems that occur, that being a regular one, we ought to have a system in which we have areas that are a part of us solving those problems. So my expectation is that we will be able to do just that. Can we get some proof that a person was born in a certain place? Do we have evidence of their membership in a church so many years ago that would verify it? I'm sure there are systems that can be implemented for a problem like that. And my expectation is that government would do that kind of thing.
Right. So in the chat, somebody named Chris is calling me Rosa Parks. He don't know that's a badge of honor. Okay, that's a compliment. But Claudette Perry has joined the chat. She says we need to work on erasing all white supremacy thinking, perspectives, and attitudes. And then Dr. Marilyn says automatic no. What good has MAGA done anyway? This administration has bulldozed this country. And Danny Turner says the SAVE Act lets people that don't have an ID fill out an affidavit and vote at the polls, but that's probably a provisional ballot, and provisional ballots are counted last. And so they shouldn't have to fill out an affidavit. The voting system has been working fine. The percentage of voter fraud is so low that it's a non-factor. We've learned this and heard this in the courts. We've heard it from states of secretaries all across the country. So it's total BS, this whole conversation about the SAVE Act and voter fraud. No, there's voter suppression. There's voter intimidation, and they are trying at their hardest attempt. MAGA is trying at their hardest attempt to suppress the vote. The Stephanie Humphreys channel said, problem, is there no problem? This is a created problem to suppress everyone who is not white. And then Orange says, being called Rosa Parks is a badge of honor. Call me Nat Turner. Okay, who would you be called, Mike Davis, since we want to call names? Chat, put who you would be from the civil rights era in the chat. I love Rosa Parks. I would want to be Ida B. Wells. I would want to be Fannie Lou Hamer. I would want to be on that side of things. Okay, who would you want to be, Mike?
There are so many great people from whom we could model our support. There are so many great people. I mean, obviously, there are just legions of individuals who love the work of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Okay, you want to be him? Call me Dorothy Heights. Call me Dorothy Heights. If you Martin Luther King, I'm Dorothy Heights.
There were a lot of great leaders, and I think many of us who grew up in areas where there were civil rights leaders from which you can model your life and or that you admired. I grew up in North Carolina, and there was an attorney who was a neighbor whom I admire greatly, who fought very challenging cases that made a difference. Attorney Julius Chambers, who was probably a little bit more modern civil rights leader, but yet at the same time, he stood on the shoulders of Thurgood Marshall and practiced during the time in which Dr. King was living earlier in his career. He fought a case, it was the next big case after Brown versus the Board of Education, and that was the Swan case in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, Swan versus Charlotte-Mecklenburg School of Education. This was a case after Brown, it was the next big thing. It mandated controversially that busing could be used to achieve desegregation. We discovered during the Brown movement that while we had integration, that there still were institutions, public institutions that were not integrated because the families didn't have transportation to get them over to Beverly Hills High or wherever they got bused. But then, I mean, wherever they got assigned, if you will.
Right.
But
okay,
then,
so wait. Let's just go there. So Chris, we're going to call you the Grand Wizard. Michelle Madison says she is Madam CJ. Lady Leo says she's Fannie Lou Hamer. The Stephanie Humphreys channel, she says she can't choose between Shirley Chisholm, Fannie Lou Hamer, Phyllis Wheatley, and Mary McLeod Bethune. We know Orange is going to be Nat Turner. And Michelle Madison says if she was considered a civil rights leader, Dr. Miller says, call me Dr. Francis Crest Westling, my
Yeah.
mentor in my head. I
Yeah.
mean, we can go on and on. Okay, Chris, we're going to call you the Grand Wizard. Don't come over here playing today. We ain't got time for all that nonsense.
Yeah, these people tell the story of a proud people who have fought to get us where we are today. And I'm glad to hear those names. And
say their names.
Yeah, say their names.
Say their names. Thank you. Rosa Parks. Thank you.
The way for us to be where we are today. And I look back upon these individuals who were extremely courageous. I look back upon their lives with pride. And I learned so much in reading about them. Some of the things I learned even after they have gone, that they would brag about, that we should have known. And so, yes, I look back on these lives of those individuals that were mentioned with pride.
Right. Greer says, call her Moses, Harriet Tubman. And, you know, since we're speaking of that, I learned about Nanny Helen Burroughs from, you know, so I was the guest speaker on the last Sunday of Women's Month on Sunday. And so I mixed my sermon with women of the Bible, and I mixed them with, you know, civil rights and just women of the movement. And so I ran across this woman named Nanny Helen Burroughs. If you know who she is in the chat, put that in there. But she was the first woman to create a women's auxiliary in the National Baptist Church. And her premise was jobs, Jesus, and justice. So I just wanted to put her name out there because that's somebody we never really talk about, but she was very instrumental with the fight for women's rights. And so I wanted to say her name as well, Nanny Helen Burroughs. I think who is that? Mary McLeod Bethune? I think that was Mary McLeod Bethune. Helen Brown says that was Helen. Oh, okay, put it back up. Let me see her. See, you know, and she was the first. She was big in the Black church when it came to women's rights. She created the first women's auxiliary in the National Baptist Convention. So we say her name as well. There she is again. And then everybody, Matt Lofton says, when do men get a month? I think your month is in June. June with Father's Day. And so, you know, you get that. And I've always thought that men should have a month. So, you know, June for me because Father's Day. And maybe, you know, the men can build on that. Let's do it. Y'all do it. Yes. Lady Leo says Fannie Lou Hamer, Rosa Parks, and a whole host of Black women. And of course, Madam C.J. Walker. And so, yeah, so, you know, like I say, a broke clock can be right twice a day. So, Chris, your broke clock, Mr. Grand Wizard, you just brought up all the ancestors and we say their names. And as we're continuing this fight in this United States that we shouldn't even be dealing with, we stand on their shoulders and they are the wind beneath our wings. So we said their names this morning. But let's fast forward to today. We were just in the past. We're going to fast forward to today. And let's talk about Senator Cory Booker, who's calling out the Democratic Party. Jasmine called him out a little bit earlier, the Democrats for cosplaying. And so now Cory Booker is calling out the Democrats. Booker made his comments during an interview with NBC's Meet the Press. And he said, I'm proud of so many things that my Democratic colleagues are doing, but as a whole, our party has failed this moment. It's why I've called for new leadership in America. Now, Booker also told NBC that he's not ruling out a run for president in 2028, even though he's running for another Senate term right now. So what are your thoughts on Cory Booker calling out the Democratic Party?
Well, I mean, as we do this work, there are things that are disagreed upon. And when that happens, people are going to express themselves. And so if he has some issues that he'd like to put on the table for discussion, if he has identified some things that he thinks makes the Democratic Party better, why not have him express himself in terms of that? And I think we all do that from time to time. All
right. So this month is National Sickle Cell Month. So let's talk a little health and wellness. So joining us this morning is a powerhouse, y'all, in the medical and advocacy space. She was diagnosed with sickle cell disease at the age of 3 years old and turned her personal battle into a professional mission. She's a bridge builder, uniting patients and researchers and healthcare leaders to ensure no one fights the sickle cell disease alone. Let Black Press USA family welcome Dr. LAKIEA Bailey. Good morning, Dr. LAKIEA. Well, as she comes to the show, when she's ready, we'll bring her in. But we're going to be talking about a program that she's doing in Atlanta. It's a consortium of advocates, doctors, community leaders to help advance the conversation on sickle cell. As we know, sickle cell impacts African Americans the most. So we thought it was definitely important to have her on the show and have this conversation. But while we're waiting for her, let's jump into another story. A story we talked about yesterday regarding Tyler Perry, TSA, and gift cards. So TSA workers were told they must return the $1,000 gift cards gifted to them by Tyler Perry. And this didn't take long to do. As you know, Tyler Perry was trying to give $250,000 towards TSA workers. They told him he couldn't do it. He talked to the airport. He talked to HR. They told him he could do it in the forms of gift cards. He did it. And now they want him. They're telling the TSA workers that they have to give the gift cards back. So how does this happen that Tyler Perry's team talks to HR, talks to the airport, talks to all the people? They say you can't give them cash, you give them gift cards. Then he gives them gift cards, and now they're telling the employees, TSA workers, they have to give the gift cards back. And you know, when I heard this, Mike, I thought about Donald Trump. I thought about Pete Hegseth. I thought about the director of the FBI, Kash Patel. I thought about Kristi Nomi. And I thought about the excessive crab legs from Pete Hegseth. I thought about the private jets from Kristi Nomi. I thought about Kash Patel, you know, making sure his girlfriend travels on private jets and lavish lifestyles on taxpayer dollars. On taxpayer dollars. TSA workers hadn't been paid for a month. And you want to tell them to give back $1,000 gift card that they probably needed because gas is triple the price?
Right.
Make that make sense.
Well, it doesn't make sense. Unfortunately, in government, we have ethics for those who work in government, and there are rules. But what is unfortunate here is the misinformation that was given to Tyler Perry's team. And that is something that we really have to embrace in terms of making sure when we give instructions on what the rules are, that it is correct. His team was misled, given misinformation that you could do it, and then all of a sudden you cannot. And or I might ask, what are the facts? Is it that you can do it, and there was some supervisor who chose not to have them do it? What are the facts here? What we do know is there is some misinformation. And again, we have a responsibility for those who work in government to give accurate account of what the rules really are. But there are a lot of ethical rules in government in terms of accepting gifts and also reporting gifts once you decide that you can accept them. And there oftentimes are limits. But what I am unclear about is what is in fact the real rule here.
Right. And it seems like this government never knows, or they don't apply or follow the rules. So there are no rules.
Right.
So, you know, today's rules are not tomorrow's rules, and yesterday's rules are different from that.
Right. And we must be clear about what the rules are, first of all. And here it seems as if there is some confusion, and he has been misinformed on what the rules are, and or some of the staff who could potentially have accepted it and reported it were denied the opportunity to do so. One of those things may be the truth, and we need to know what the truth is in this case.
Right. So Michelle Madison said, I would spend the gift card so quickly, zero balance. Love it. Aquarius only real sign 79 brings up a good point. They say Kid Rock had a military helicopter fly in front of his swimming pool. Yes, he did. I saw that too. That's taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah, unfortunately, a waste of money.
And then they also said, I'm not giving back nothing. And Dr. Miller says, yeah, the federal government has a strict policy on gifts. It's a part of our training, and we have to sign in an agreement. They can get into serious trouble taking the gift. And then Stephanie Humphrey channel says, exactly. And how do they know who received one? I would give nothing back. And we don't even know, they said that that some of the employees have received their money. So yesterday they were supposed to get their back pay and get their checks. And it was like, they started receiving. It didn't say all. They said they started receiving. So who are the people that receive their checks? And that's the confusion, I think, that this Trump administration does. We don't know who got their checks. We don't know how it was chosen. And so it's hard for us to get to the truth. They always move the needle on the truth in today. Always. So it's always mass confusion.
Right.
Yes. And so we'll be monitoring that. But shout out to Tyler Perry he could have walked away when he couldn't, when they said, no, you can't give them $250,000. You can't spread it out. You can't give them cash. He could have walked away, but he worked with the airport, with TSA, to figure out the best way to get these people the money, gave it to them, and they still have to return it.
Yeah.
So
let's know the truth. We still need to know what are the facts and how can it be done appropriately, or could it be done appropriately? In any regard, there's been a misinformation here in this situation. So we definitely need to take responsibility, those in government, to give the accurate information about what can and cannot occur.
Right. And I think too, we're living in unprecedented times. So it's not that they didn't get paid, but it's also inflation. It's also gas prices. So this is the wrong time to be playing with people's money. And I bet you everybody in that Trump administration got their checks over the past month.
Right.
And so you're going to be petty. And the stuff that they are doing is so illegal. Like yesterday, we heard from Wes Moore, we're in a state of war. And Donald Trump didn't ask permission for that.
And does Congress have the right to be the one to declare war?
I thought they were. I thought it was them.
Absolutely.
So you worried about some gift cards that are going to help make America great? TSA is what makes America great, because it makes it easy and safe for us to get through the airport. That they're who is making what the concept of make America great is. It's them.
And Tyler Perry, and a person to whom much is given, much is expected, had great intentions of relieving people temporarily, while whatever the problem was as to why they did not get paid, he tried to make a difference. And so his intentions were great. People like him who saw a need to contribute to help relieve people in a time of crisis. That was his general intent. I think that people understand that that's what it was. So again, it's so important that for those who are in government, who are practicing government, that we do it in a way that is real and that is honest. And so that if in fact something is permissible that can help relieve people, and we have citizens whose intentions are good and great, that we make sure that we tell the truth about it and create an opportunity to comply with the law in a way that helps to solve problems. I mean, that is the expectation we have of government on everything.
Okay. So Dr. LAKIEA was having some problems going on, or some technical issues. So we're gonna get her back.
Okay.
So she's not able to actually come on this morning. But in the chat, what do we have? Orange saying, I'm not giving a penny back. Stephanie Humphreys is saying, according to the Constitution, it is the Congress's decision, not a president's decision. Orange is saying the same thing. And so that's what I'm saying. If the Trump administration is playing wild, wild west and that not adhering to the rules, you're gonna make the TSA workers, I mean, make it make sense.
Yes.
Okay, so let's lighten things up a little bit. Brandy. Okay, let's jump into a little entertainment news. Brandy was presented with the 2,839th star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame yesterday. And we have some B-roll that could be playing right now. And she accepted it. Issa Rae on one side, Babyface on the other. And among the attendees celebrating the occasion with Brandy were her daughter, mother, and father, along with Monica. Monica was in the audience. Erica Campbell was in the audience, along with her husband, Warren Campbell. And this comes as Brandy is releasing her debut book today titled Phases, a Memoir. And so there she is right there. Lots of headlines for Brandy. And she's taking those headlines about men who I think it's crazy, who's talking about what they've done with her or slept with her years ago. I just don't know why men are doing these types of things these days, but she's taking all of that and making lemonade. And so congratulations to Brandy as she received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame yesterday.
Yes, very good. Congratulations, Brandy.
And then let's talk about Shaka Khan. She's getting all types of headlines right now. And I want you to she's talking about Ike Turner being a lovely human being. Take a look at this. Do we have the clip, Greer?
She was in.
I knew Ike more. I knew Ike.
Oh,
I knew him.
Was he
Yeah.
a bad guy or a good guy?
No, he was a lovely human being.
Yeah.
Just he was
Had a bad
victimized. He was a
temper.
victim, of himself and of the of what we do for a living and of drugs and stuff like that. It was just, and me too. I was like, we were having fun together, but it was not, a good time in either of our lives. We were going through some shit, but shit happens. It's life. I mean, I'm like every human being. I've been there, done that. I've overcome, and I'm still here to talk about it. Thank God. We spent a lot of time in Switzerland.
No.
I did a lot of recording there, and
Did you know Tina Turner?
I met her a few
Yeah,
times.
because she was in Switzerland.
I knew Ike more. I knew Ike.
Oh,
I knew
dear.
Ike.
Was he
Yeah.
a bad guy or a good guy?
No, he was a.
She says he was a lovely guy. I mean, and she's getting she also described him as a generous person towards emerging artists, adding another layer to her personal account of him. Now the comments have reignited conversation due to Tina's widely documented abuse of Ike Turner. So can two things be right at the same time? Shaka Khan says he's a lovely human being, but we saw what's love got to do with it and the records that he wasn't that kind human being to Tina Turner.
Right, we know, and I think all of us understand what has occurred here. People have lives, and people are different with their relationships with different people. We all know that in our personal lives. And can a person who violates the rights of another person also have a more casual, comfortable relationship with another person? We all know that that can occur. And we know that that's what has occurred here. None of us are for abuse, and we reject it. And yet we understand that that same person who has been named as an abuser on one hand has a fruitful relationship with someone else on the other hand, whether it's in your family, whether it's across the street, whether it was in the classroom with someone with whom you grew up with. We all have in our lives people who have been accused and or have been found to be abusers on one hand. On the other hand, we found that they have good friends. So,
Mike, you're being polite. Dr. Marilyn said Shaka gave Ike some cookies. That's
oh, I see. Well,
but
I wasn't there. I don't know, but we do know what it is that we have a problem with. And we do realize that while this is a question, we know that this exists.
right.
Yeah.
Aquarius, the only real sign, says she thinks he's lovely because she wasn't getting stuck behind the washer and the dryer.
Mhm.
But this is a conversation going when we think about celebrities. Last week, Usher, along with Young Miami, were clips were going around of them talking about Diddy. And Usher was like, his experience with Diddy was not that of what people know. And you can't take away his contributions to the culture and what he's done. So he had nothing but praise for Diddy. And then Young Miami said the same thing. She was like, he contributed to my career. He was good to me. So I don't have that experience. So, I'm not going to talk bad about him. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take these moments to talk about what Diddy did and his contributions to culture and how he was a friend to me. And so, should artists like this be canceled because their relationships with people that might have been convicted of crimes or are known to do, things that are hurtful to people? Should they be canceled for expressing their experience, their positive experiences about these individuals?
Well, the truth is the truth. And again, the truth is the truth. If the same person violated someone, they did violate someone, and we do not embrace that. And if this same person who did who violated someone, had a fruitful relationship with someone else prior to, yes, that's exactly what occurred. And we all know that. I mean, let's not act like strangers. You all have somebody in your neighborhood and maybe somebody in your family who's in the same circumstance. Let's not act like we are surprised about human behavior. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all adults, the majority of us who are having this discussion, and we know that that occurs.
Dr. Mellon also says that is Shaka's lived experience with Ike. You can't fault her for that. Aquarius only real sign says, is Young Miami a rapper? Yes, she used to be a member of the City Girls. Now she's solo. So yes, and Puffy gave her a TV show on Revo. Okay, a talk show. I mean, their relationship is their relationship, but which also brings up the conversation of Chili. Chili is trending as well for contributions that she's made to MAGA, for reposting derogatory images of Michelle Obama. Also, clips are coming up when asked about Black Lives Matter. She said all lives matter. And there's another clip that's going around from T-Boz that is acknowledging and saying that Chili voted for Trump. So now Chili is being dragged. She just signed a tour with TLC and En Vogue. So now she could possibly be messing with those other ladies' dollars and money, right? Because if the tickets don't sell because of Chili, then it just doesn't affect her. It affects T-Boz, it affects Salt and Pepper, it affects En Vogue. So should Chili be canceled? Or can you separate her politics from TLC? And to even add to that, when men support Donald Trump, like the Snoop Dogs and the Nellies, they might get a slap on the wrist, but they go on about their business. But when you think of people like Chrisette Michelle and the potential of what can happen to T-Boz, why is it that the society comes down so hard on women, but men get a pass?
I don't know if that's really the case or not. It's very difficult for people in business, and particularly entertainers, who want to support people who are leaders in civic life, and they want to support the things that they want to do in the community. But then in doing so, they have to be so careful because of the outcome of their decision to help others. Sometimes they have to pay attention to the political winds in which way they are blowing. And if they do not, then this that is occurring today will occur. And you have asked some questions about what impact will my political decision make upon those others that I work with. And so when we have these celebrities, you can't get them to help people in public service. You can't get them to help the community. Well, this is the reason why. Because in these political decisions, oftentimes people have to work, and it can have an adverse impact upon the work that they're doing. And this is why it's difficult for us to get people who are in the public entertainment space to help out, to be involved, to make a difference. Because if you have a misstep, then you have a negative impact not only on yourself, and you ask the question, what about the people she works with? And so this is the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, you'll have that problem.
Yeah, because I was about to cancel her, but then it was brought to my attention. Snoop got a pass, Nelly got a pass. I mean, and it's true. We talked about Snoop, when he did the crypto ball, but then he did the Olympics. We loved it. He's putting out projects. We don't have anything against it. But Chrisette Michelle, when she performed at Trump's first inauguration, it took her a few years, and people still aren't really messing with her.
Well, the issue of accountability, holding people accountable for the decisions they make, is something that is done and will continue to be done. And you're just going to have to chew chewing gum and be able to walk across the street at the same time.
Greer, you wanted to say something?
You're going to have to be able to make the kind of political decisions for which you have checked out. Finally, I will say, sometimes it's the manager that you have and the decision he made, and not maybe perhaps the one that you made. Your manager may say, this is a person that helped us to get such and so deal, and so we're going to support him or her this time. We've had many celebrities who have been Democrats and have supported Republicans. Going to have that.
Somebody says you are off the doctor. They said Dr. Davis is off the chain. Go ahead, Greer.
Listen, I think that we are mixing, I don't know, peanuts in this moment, because Chile reposted a conspiracy picture of calling Michelle Obama a man. Right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, she reposted that. And so to me, that's where I draw the line as a Black woman. And she apparently, when I don't know this for certain, but it's been said that she also has some identity issues, right?
I see.
So, I'm sorry. I don't give all of those people a pass, right? I think that people have a right to choose, but I think in this moment where Black women in particular are under attack, right? I mean, and I'm sorry, I'll say it. This is not the show's view. This is my view. I think that, white men, they do not like women. Okay. They don't like women. And so that's the culture that we're creating here, right? About putting women in their place. And, and brothers, some brothers, you want to try to take these cues because they think, this gives them some sort of position, in our society. I have no idea. But as far as Chile is concerned, her reposting that conspiratorial image of Michelle being a man, that's where I draw the line. And when you're participating in things like that, I draw the line. And I don't think that I don't have to explain myself.
Sure,
for
sure.
that.
And you're
Right.
telling that story says that Chili knows what she's doing and she's playing
Well,
the game. And people are going
Stephanie
to
Humphrey.
Absolutely,
Stephanie
she know what she
well,
doing.
let's just say Stephanie Humphrey said, and Chili did say this. She claimed she hit the wrong button.
I call BS. I call BS on that. I call BS. If somebody else made the point, she didn't go back and change it. She didn't go back and fix that. Her patterns, her liking patterns, and the fact that she's voting, and the way that she votes, nah, I don't believe it. I do not believe it. She would have to see me outside. She had to catch.
Well, in politics, when you make these decisions, sometimes most of the times there's going to be some backlash. There's going to be some effort of accountability. The public does that politically. That's why when you make that decision to support a certain candidate or what have you, and again, you believe very strongly in the person and you do it, there's going to be some level of accountability. And this is what Chile is experiencing right now. And this is what others will experience when they support what they support. If this is what Chile support, Chile, this is the outcome of what you support in terms of how people feel about it.
Well, Stephanie Humphrey says white men like women. This is to Greer's point. She said white men like women for certain things. And Dr. Marilyn says, thank you, Greer. Not the same. Snoop has enough money and his hands are everywhere. Lady Leo says a lot of men don't like women. And she credits that to Kamala Harris. So, I mean, this is an interesting conversation.
Well, it's not all of anything. They're not all white men that don't like women. There may be some, but
no. This is the chat. This is the chat opinions. We don't necessarily condone or agree with the chat. This is just what they're saying.
I got it.
And Lady Leo says, Chile made financial donations to 17 different mega folks. That wasn't an accident. But to your point, Dr. Davis, you bring up a great point. A lot of times the managers make decisions on behalf of the artist. So if her manager was MAGA, then maybe they thought that, I'm just trying to give the woman the benefit of the doubt. So you're saying
her
sometimes it's the
castmate
managers.
said she a MAGA. T-Boz says she voted for Trump. That's what she is. Like just be that. Let's just be that. And I think that if the women on that show, we have now it's time to we talking business. All right. They have to drop her if they want the show to go on. I think they got to drop TLC. It is what it is. It came.
I don't think that they don't drop TLC because they're the headliners. The billing of the show is TLC and Salt and Pepper with Invo. They have top billing. Okay. They have top billing.
Well, I think the good news is that Chile's decision, her interaction at the political decisions she's been entangled with, will give her an opportunity now to see how the public feels about it. And probably a good thing to do would be to bring Chile on, have her call in and get some feedback from her on what her thoughts are about the responses she's getting for being entangled politically in this kind of experience. And how does she feel about it? And it would be interesting to see how Chile feels about all of this.
Well, she put out a statement. She did a social media vlog and she made a statement clarifying all these things. But Greer, to your point,
how does she feel about it?
I don't even think her and T-Boz get along. Because the way T-Boz was like, she voted for Trump. And just when she was in the interview with the All Lives Matter, it's looking like, girl, what are you talking about? All Lives Matter. So, but I think also they have opposing views, but they know how to get the bag together. And so back to Greer's point, it's business. And so
and let's just say one more thing about that. Sometimes too, and I'm just sad to say, but we all have seen this. Now she's with this white man, and sometimes some people feel like, oh, they gotta check. You know what I mean? Like they have to justify their relationship, so they start doing. Maybe her
maybe
man
he's
is
a member of. Maybe he's
right, and so now she also wants to, like they're okay. You know what I mean? Yeah, how some black people when their mate is they have to justify it.
I can see
Right.
the all lives matter statement. Especially
Yeah.
with the all lives
When you
matter,
say
I
that,
definitely
yeah.
see that. Yeah. And so yeah, I mean, and even Salt and Pepper, one of the members came out, I think it was Peppa, came out and showed Chili some love as well, saying, I know that girl. She's not, she's not that person. Because and let's just be real. We do not wear our political values on our sleeves, for the most part, right? I mean, maybe MAGA does, they really do. But we don't wear our political views. We just don't have a sign that says who we are and what our values are. That comes out in how we treat people. And so, they probably didn't know Chili had these views. T-Boss clearly knew. Okay, she clearly knew. But we'll see how ticket sales go with this tour.
Right.
Will it impact it? And which goes back to my point to where Snoop really wasn't impacted. Nelly wasn't really impacted by participating in Trump's inauguration. Chrisette Michelle was canceled. And now you see Chili coming out with these mega views, and even Nicki Minaj. I think she's kind of sitting still a little bit looking at what's happening to her. I mean, I think she has backed herself in a corner that she might not be able to come out of. But it's just interesting how men can regain and be redeemed, but women, it takes a little longer, or they just get kicked out. You getting kicked out the club, and I think that's unfair. I do. I don't care however you put it. I don't think it's fair.
Well, it's hard to predict what impact the response is going to have, but oftentimes that response is going to be potent. It's going to be powerful, and the way the winds blow, you have to be looking and paying attention. And if you made that decision, you're going to oftentimes have to own it.
Dr. Marilyn says T-Boz needs to join another group. Claudette Perry says, I'll bet MAGA did not arrange this tour for them. They always come home when they need you. Oh, wait. And then Dr. Stephanie Humphrey says, men versus women being unfair. Men always get a pass. And that was the point that I was trying to get to. I'm glad you said it, Stephanie. And then Orangey says, I don't know any Black people who are still rocking with Snoop and Nelly. Oh, I do. And Snoop is still getting the gigs. You know what I'm saying? He just did the Olympics. I mean, it's bad. He just did a screening for a movie out here, and every West Coast hip hop artist was in the building. Oh, he gets a pass. He gets a pass for sure. And so we'll continue to talk about this because the tour is coming up. We'll see how ticket sales go. And we'll see if there are any more comments coming from Chili, because I don't think this story is going to die anytime soon. Before we get out of here, let's jump into some Black facts as we close out Women's Month. I hope every woman in the chat around the world has felt the divineness of what it means to be a woman this month. And to my Black sisters, let's just keep on keeping on. Let's stay 92% strong and do what we need to do. And then hopefully the fellas, they'll do something in June and get their month going. But on this day, March 31st, 1988, Toni Morrison won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction for her novel, Beloved. And so that is our last, honor to women. We're going to keep talking about women, but I thought we would close with Toni Morrison as a Pulitzer Prize winner. And then, the beat goes on. It's a sad day for LA. In 2019, Nipsey Hussle was fatally shot on this day at the age of 33. Outside of his Marathon clothing store here in South Los Angeles, leaving a profound legacy in hip hop and community activism. And just a few weeks ago, right across the street from the Marathon, Marquise Harris Dawson, who was the president of LA City Council. You had Heather Hutt, who was a LA City Council member, along with Assembly member Isaac Bryan, dedicate the corner of Crenshaw and Slauson.
Great.
See Hustle Square. So his legacy continues. His brother Black Sam with the Marathon Burgers, the Marathon Store. They're doing big things, and his legacy truly lives strong, not just here in LA, but worldwide. Mike, any closing thoughts?
Well, I think it's wonderful for us to commemorate the legacy of those who came back and reinvested in our community. And hats off to the local city council members, Councilman Marquise Harris Dawson and Councilwoman Heather Hutt, for recognizing those leaders who've invested in our community. And finally, I want to say to all of the women who are leading that our hat goes off to them who have been holding up the banner for our community for years, not only in public service, but in corporate America, in sports, and in entertainment. We love the women in our community and the work that they have done and the image that they have portrayed that has inspired us all. And I think it starts at home for those who were fortunate enough to have a mother who led. And more often than not, in the Black community, the women have led the way and have created the things that make us who we are today. So we love Women's History Month every year.
Every year we love it.
Every year.
We're gonna try to get Dr. Bailey back and see if we can have this conversation about this important conference that she's having next month for sickle cell. Whether you are an advocate, a survivor, or you're going through, she has some information.
She says she's back, but I don't know if you can get her the last minute on.
She dropped off, but it's definitely an important conversation we have to have because sickle cell impacts African Americans the most. So we'll be back with more news and views tomorrow. Dr. Davis hopefully will be back next Tuesday.
Okay.
Because we definitely like having you. And in between time and in the meantime, if you want to know what's happening across Black America, as you know, we are the home of Black newspapers all across this country. You can head over to blackpressusa.com and we have the news that you need. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace out.
Good night. Good morning.